Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul?
and Jolene. And today we're talking about attacking before initiative.
Ugh. How does that happen?
Specifically, I was reading different things, and I found this topic fascinating because people were talking about Pathfinder 2, which I haven't played and don't
Right.
know the rules. But they were saying that he says, how do I get my players to not attack before initiative? And I'm like, going, I've never even heard of that. And he goes, they want to do a surprise attack. And I guess in Pathfinder 2, they have a special thing where they could do that if they use their perception or their deceitful. They can roll those to see if they see what the other person is going to do before the initiative is rolled, or something like that.
So the only thing I know about Pathfinder 2, well, a few things I know, is that there used to be you could use a swift action or something like that. You had 3 actions: a swift, immediate, or long action. I don't know. I know I got the terms wrong, but in Pathfinder Second Edition, you just get 3 actions, no matter what they are, no matter how long or little that you think it would take for them to do that. So they can move, attack, move. All these combinations, right? So when you have those kind of things, they're very codified. The rules. There's a lot of rules to Pathfinder, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of rules to Pathfinder 2. Supposedly less than Pathfinder, but still they streamlined it. I'm using air quotes, but still there's a lot of rules. It's a crunchy system.
Just to be clear, D&D and Pathfinder 1, it says that there's this model of a surprise round.
Yes.
And then they changed it in Pathfinder 2 so that that initiative is purely speed in Pathfinder 2, and the model is, do you know you're in combat? Like if the person realizes they're in combat, that the person is gonna attack them or something, then depends on the rolls that people make, whether or not they get to act before that. Or at least that's the way that I understood what they were saying. I could be wrong because I haven't read the Pathfinder 2 rules, but that's what I read people telling me about them.
So there could be a surprise round, but they have to roll.
Well, first, initiative is based on how quickly you think instead of how quickly you move.
Oh.
Which is a wisdom domain. And second, that means that we need a different way of modeling surprise. The cleanest way to do that is to have anyone who doesn't realize they're in combat just act like they aren't in combat, but still allow them to move because every action matters in encounter time.
Interesting.
It's very Pathfinder is very crunchy. So
right. So I'm thinking like a classic ambush, right, where people are walking somewhere and then they get ambushed. There's no idea. So is there a surprise round there, or do they get to react?
React is different than a surprise round, right?
Well, a surprise round usually, at least even back when AD&D, it was a round of you being able to do whatever you want to another person, attack, go talk to
before the battle starts.
Before initiative is even rolled, because the other person is completely caught unawares.
So that's kind of what they're
trying to mimic that.
Specified it, right?
More codified it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But this conversation isn't really about Pathfinder 2. This conversation is about surprise rounds, initiative, and how the rules versus reality, right?
Right, and I think that's the problem that we have when we're talking about crunchy rules, right? Any kind of crunchy rules, and they don't have to be exceedingly crunchy. There's also the idea that these people who make these role-playing games, they want it balanced. They don't want a certain kind of character, if there's classes, to have an unfair advantage, and that's really tricky, to try to make a fighter balance with a wizard who's also balanced with a paladin who's also balanced with a cleric, and then you got to balance a rogue
and bard. Don't forget the bard.
And so I can go on, is what I'm saying. And so how do you balance each and every those character classes as they advance every level? I don't think you can. That's the problem. Now, for the longest time, people loved the idea behind a ranger, but they hated rangers because they were always, what is the term, nerfed? Or they were nerfed. Though nerfed is when you take away powers to make them weaker. Well, when they're just weak And a lot of people said, "Oh, the Ranger is the weakest character because blah blah blah." And I always thought they were pretty cool in my imagination. Even back when they first entered AD&D, the Ranger was like, and the Paladin were pretty cool. They were subclasses of the fighter, right? And when they were included, I always thought they were pretty cool. And I always, like the Druid. I think the classes were Druid. I remember now, AD&D.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're right. It doesn't matter. So, but the idea that all these classes have to be balanced is really a problem, right? It's a problem for the person who is writing the game.
So what you're saying is that because they want them all to be balanced, is that why they put in the initiative system?
I think that's when you start having problems with the rules.
Oh.
And that is where this situation happens, right? Because, like, for example, if I was in the classic example is the ambush, right? If I'm waiting for somebody to come around the corner or to go into my sight, and I'm in a hidden, let's say a blind, like a hunter, and somebody comes in front of me and I shoot them with my gun, that person should, all intents purposes, not be able to react to my shooting them. It's a free round before anybody can act. Now you're saying, well, as soon as anything could be imminent, everybody gets to roll initiative or
perception,
or that person might have to roll perception or something like that. And then, but does that happen in real life? Okay, maybe it does, but in real life, most people, they would get shot first, or at least get a chance to get shot first before they can even react or act, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's my problem when these rules pop up like that, when they're trying to mitigate when they try to change reality to make it fit, to make the game balance or to make the game run better. And I think that's what Pathfinder is doing in this case. For example, somebody used the example of Greedo versus Han.
Yes.
Right? And I thought this was interesting. I go, oh, Greedo versus Han. Now, depending on which reality we're talking about, we're talking about the original version or the fake version that they came out later. And for whatever reason, George Lucas decided to change things. So in the original version, Han just shoots Greedo, right? Boom, he's dead. Greedo is dead. Greedo didn't even have a chance, right? Didn't even have a gun in his hand. He's just making a deal he's parlaying with Han.
But Han, in that reality, Han realized that he was going to shoot him, right?
Who?
Greedo was going to shoot him. So
we don't know.
I'm just saying.
That's just the new movie talk. Greedo was just like there, just talking, trying to listen to what Han had to say about him being taken, to Jabba the Hutt. And then before that conversation could end, Han shoots him. Now, in the other reality, they both realize that this is they both realize it's a tense situation. But Greedo, all of a sudden, says, I'm going to take him out because he's dead or alive. I can get money. So Greedo shoots. Of course, Greedo's a lousy shot for whatever reason, for a bounty hunter, and totally misses. And then Han fires back and kills him.
But that's not what happened.
That's in the new movie.
Oh. So I must have missed that part.
That was like a big deal for a lot of Star Wars fans, right? Because it changes I hate the diatribe or rant or what do you call it? Digression.
I have serious doubts you hate it.
Yeah. So in the original movie, Han shoots Greedo, boom, he's dead, right? No warning. He doesn't call him out. I'm going to call you out on the duel or whatever. No, he is a snake and shoots him like cold-blooded killer, boom. And so then we know a little bit more about Han and what his character is like, right? He's a cold-blooded killer if he needs to be, right? He don't want to go to Jabba the Hutt. He's in big trouble. I'm going to eliminate this problem. And unfortunately, Greedo is the eliminated one. But in the new reality, George Lucas goes, so Han Solo is not a cold-blooded killer. No, he was just defending himself. Well, Greedo never shot. Oh, yes, he did. We change reality, go back in time, and then Greedo all of a sudden goes, Q, shoots the freaking roof or something, and Han shoots him back. So in this case, Han is not a cold-blooded killer. He's just defending himself against the evil Greedo. See how things change? So the people were discussing this, and I thought it was a very interesting because different people were using that example of how it proved their point. So one of them is initiative. They both rolled initiative, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the original, there's no initiative.
In the original, there's no initiative.
There's no initiative.
It's a surprise attack.
It's a surprise attack, right? In the new one, there is initiative, and Greedo just is a lousy shot.
His
Greedo won initiative,
yeah.
But he lost he fumbled the shooting, and then Han Solo is a better shot and kills Greedo. But I have yet a different idea, right? Right. I feel that there's and they're both saying that they both should have rolled something, right?
Right.
Rolled initiative, or one says that in the original they believe that Han just reacted faster, that he knew that Greedo was going to shoot him, like he did
Yeah.
in the
His perception was higher.
his perception was high, or he reacted faster, and before Greedo could get the first shot out, Han won, right? In the second version, Greedo gets the first shot, but he misses, and then Han shoots him and kills him. So they both roll initiative in both those instances. But what I'm saying is, maybe they didn't roll initiative. Initiative was never hit the table, right? Because Han Solo, being the charming, the way he was like laying back, Greedo was caught unawares, right? Greedo was not expecting this scoundrel to shoot him in cold blood. So how would you adjudicate that? Well, how would, if you were playing, these were two characters, or let's say Greedo was my NPC and Han Solo was a player character, how would you figure this out with the players going, well, I'm sitting there, I'm going to have my hand on my gun in my lap at all times because I don't trust this bar. Then Greedo sits down, or does he, I don't forget how.
I don't know if he sat down. I don't remember.
I don't know who sat down.
Anyway.
Does Han Solo sit down with Greedo, or does Greedo sit? I don't remember. But anyway, at one point, Han Solo has a gun in his lap, right, with one hand, and he's playing with the other hand. He's looking at the decorative wall or whatever he's doing, and he's fooling Greedo into a sense of a false security, I guess you would call it. So what would I roll? What would I make the characters roll? I might make deception roll,
Yeah.
right, or something like that if I wanted to. But if if the player playing Han is like really nonchalant and he's role playing well, okay, you get a free round. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna shoot him. Boom. Okay, Greedo's dead. You'll go. I mean, take your shot, roll the dice. Boom, Greedo's dead from a blaster at freaking.
But
real close
you
range.
just said you get a free round.
Right, because of the actions of the player.
Yeah, so that's before the initiative.
Before the initiative. And I think that's what reality would tell you.
Yeah.
Right? Another one is, well, your role playing kind of sucks.
So you're going to have to roll initiative.
You're not really Han Solo, right? You might think you are, but you come across as darned Solo, right? So give me a deception roll. Especially with what you're doing underneath the table. Because Greedo is going to be a little bit wary.
Well, he's a bounty hunter, right?
Right. And Greedo, he's good enough that he found
bounty
Solo.
hunters should have their eyes open.
Right, eyes peeled. And he had a big old eyes, didn't he? Greedo?
But Han Solo has a lot of charisma, right?
Right, and so that's what we're talking about. So he might have been a deception check. It could have been a charm check.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't even know if depending on what system you're using. Right. So I think in that sense, depending on how much chance you want to give Greedo, depending on how well the player is role playing, or depending on how well the player is describing the situation that he's trying to get Greedo to be in that position where, well, if Greedo does anything weird, I'm going to shoot him. So I think, and that's way before initiative, and to me that makes more sense, in reality,
right?
Than when people are talking together and one, it might even be like a game of face, or what do you call it, of pride or whatever, when one person is like trying to social combat, right? Whatever rules you're using, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care what rule, but at any point, the GM can say, well, roll something before we roll initiative to see what's going on. And there you go. Okay, yeah, Greedo doesn't seem too wary about you. Okay, I shoot him. Okay, sorry, Greedo. Right? He could have been a good character. We don't know. But I think to me, that makes more sense than having to say, no, you have to roll initiative because that's what the rules say. Because there's no surprise rounds in this game.
But they made the rule for a reason for Pathfinder 2, right? To even out
or something.
But they also have exceptions, right?
Do they? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You're rolling deception instead of initiative.
Okay.
Or you're rolling awareness instead, and whoever's more aware of if you're in combat or not, right?
That seems kind of silly to me. Aware if you're in combat. I think you're going to be aware if you're in combat.
Well, the classic for us is we're walking down a road, and all of a sudden, Saul will go, okay, roll initiative. And like everybody's like, oh. Or, well, sometimes he'll say, can you roll your perception, and then everybody's all, okay, everybody roll perception, and then everybody's like on full alert, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's funny. I know we've talked about it before, but like when I put a map out, or I put out a battle map. I always have a battle map on my table, but I start drawing things out. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a combat encounter. And I mean, I never realized put out a map or drew something without it being a combat encounter. So when I started doing that, they're like, oh. I don't know. We were looking out everywhere because remember when you guys were walking down the canyon, or it was the side of a trail on a mountain, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna look at this. This is gonna be an ambush, right?" And so I'm like, "Man, I was like a bad poker player."
You're projecting what you're gonna happen.
I'm giving all these tells, right? And one of them is I have a battle mat and I'm drawing on it. And what I should do is draw randomly some locations, and nothing happens. That way they don't know what I'm doing or when I'm doing it. Another one was remember that I was running at Pacificon, I was running Low Life 2077 or 2177. It's like a cyberpunk Shadowrun type of game. And the lady asked me at the end of the game, she goes, were all those encounters in the book, in the module? I go, yeah. Because sometimes you had a map and sometimes you didn't have a map. I go, oh, you're right. She goes, why is that? I go, well, sometimes they didn't include a map. I mean, they can only include, and sometimes you're not going to like ask for a map for a certain place, right? Like one of them was an apartment that was empty.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you don't need to know everything. This is not going to become a combat encounter unless like you go in guns shooting or guns blazing, and then like the cops come and then you again shoot out the cops. But other than that, you don't really need a map of that apartment. Just because you're going to snoop around,
unless it's an investigation game.
Well, it wasn't they were kind of investigating. They're trying to find stuff, but you didn't need to know where the computer was or where the battle was and all that stuff, unless it became a combat encounter. And like, I'm going to try to hide behind this desk and blah blah blah. But it was funny how that perception came along. Is that because I didn't have a map?
You were making it up
that I was making up on the fly, and the same thing as when I draw a location on a battle map. That meant that it was going to be combat was imminent. And I think when we give those tells, I think that's the problem. But now that I figured out that I do that, I'm going to just start drawing maps all the time.
I think a lot of games have walked away from this idea of rolling initiative.
Yes.
Like Modifius,
everybody goes first.
Everybody you choose. Everybody gets to choose, which seems a little bit harder to me.
You guys are arguing. I want to go first. Oh no, you should go first because you got this ability. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, to me it seems harder because then the players are trying to decide who goes first, right?
Yes.
Whereas like Dragonbane, you pull cards, and then if you want the fighter to go first, you can give them if you have a lower card, you can give them your opportunity and take theirs.
In fact, you can make him go first, even if he doesn't want to. Yeah. Now, most likely he would, but you never know. He might be going, man, that monster's pretty big, and I'm not next to it, so I'll let him go after the halfling first. Oh, here, you get the first initiative. No, I don't want that one. Well, then you can act first and get to the monster. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't want to get hit. But you're right. You give them the card and you automatically switch. And
I always ask before I...
Well, that's nice of you, but I would say, you know what?
I am much more squishy.
Yeah. So. I don't have any armor here. Go ahead. Go first. But that's interesting about how Dragonbane does that, right? You draw cards to go in combat. But what happens before you guys are in combat? What happens? And I think that's where... That's
where this question comes from.
Yeah, that's where this question comes from. I think that's where GMs have to like not look at the rules or look for a rule like look through the book. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know what the rules say. Adjudicate, right? Make a ruling about what the situation is. And I've always said that, and no matter what game it was, I think it was D&D 5th edition where. One of my players was hiding behind a wall, and they would come out and shoot Eldritch Blast and go back behind a wall because you could split up your move.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what he was doing. He's going shooting up to Eldritch Blast, come back, Eldritch Blast, come back and forth, and I could never shoot him. Right. I could never hit him because his initiative was always higher. And I'm like, so I go to Chris Perkins. Well, I go to Facebook at the time, and I ask, well, is this a legal move? Is this what can happen? And people, and he actually answered. I couldn't believe it. He goes, "Yes, that's exactly the way the rule. That's the way it should go." And I was thinking in my head, how can this happen where somebody could use this kind of a tactic and never get shot at, right? Never get shot at, and never have a worry about anything because you're just always safe behind his. He was behind some rock or something or a wall. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And then somebody goes, are you saying that you have enemies who are watching him? I go, well, I mean, there's a lot of enemies, but he could have been shot, but under the rules, I couldn't shoot him. And he goes, oh, all you have to do is on their initiative, when they act, the enemy, is don't do anything. And what is it? Prepare or
hold
or what is it? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like Overwatch. So then when he pops up, you get to shoot, and then before his action goes off.
See, for every rule, there's a way around it, right?
Well, that was another rule.
Yeah.
Right? So I go, oh, okay, so you can do it. He goes, yeah. He goes, that's what you would do, is you would hold your action or prepare an action, which prepare is, and then you give an Overwatch, I forget what game that is, probably Space Hulk, is that when you are Overwatch, you're looking at a spot, and when somebody enters that spot, you shoot. And that's exactly what the situation was, or what they could have done to get a shot off at him. And I'm like, oh, Chris Perkins, sorry, you didn't answer my question very good. No, I mean, you answered the question exactly as I asked, but other people were like in the thread were
people were like thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
What is your real question?
Yeah. Why? And then they're like, oh yeah, and there was multiple people who said, yeah, just do the prepare action or whatever it's called, and then when he pops out, you get to go first. I go, oh. But that's real crunchy rules, and but somebody had to think about that, right?
Right.
Somebody had to think about, well, if somebody's popping in and out behind a wall, you're never going to be able to hit them.
Yeah.
And then,
but gamers are going to think about that, right?
Gamers are going to think about that. Gamers are going to figure something out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but if it wasn't in the rules, you're stuck as a GM because there's no rule about it. But until you come up with something, right? Until you decide, well, outside the box or outside these rules, there's got to be a way I could do it. And if I was thinking better, I could have remembered Overwatch, something from Space Hulk, that some guy could just be out there ready to go, and when Ian pops up, I get to shoot him, and then a chance to hit him anyway, and before he gets his Eldritch Blast out. Very cool, very good idea. But I think if that wasn't a rule, the GM should have the total capacity to come up with things that make sense, right?
Right.
And that's where my problem with a lot of rules, and I mean a game system with a lot of rules, is sometimes the rules don't make sense because they need to work. For the rules to work, all these rules need to be used or implemented.
I think when it comes to really crunchy systems and players, you should really listen to what the players are saying, so you're not just shooting them down, right? I want to do this. Oh, and this is the rule, and you go, no, that's not going to work. But you should listen to what they want to do and try to go with it in a way that you're comfortable with, or you think is going to work in your reality, right?
Right, like it's like the rule says this. But even the rule can be like mitigated by the world events or by what's happening in the scene, right?
It always comes back to me to do you want to use athletics or acrobatics? And people will argue with this till they're
blue in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one because it all comes down to the argument, right?
Well, it comes down to really what it comes down to is which one you have more points in.
No. I know that as a player. I know you're trying to get as much advantage. Yeah, as much advantage as you can get for your character. But the reality is, are you gonna for example, athletics or acrobatics? Okay, what are you trying to do? There's this railing. I want to grab the railing, jump up, and do like a full flip, and then land on my feet and keep running. Okay, athletics or acrobatics, strength or dexterity. Interesting. Which one would I use, right? If you're pulling yourself up, that has to do with strength. And then doing the little handstand and then flip over to... But that takes sort of dexterity. Like some things are totally one or the other.
Right.
Like I want to lift this gate.
You know that's strength.
That's strength. But the guy goes, well,
I
couldn't
want
I
to
just
jump over
can
it.
I jump over it? And as I jump, pull the gate up for everybody else. I'm like, that's still kind of strength. Well, no, it's dexterity because I'm using leverage, like the English say it, and to get stuff, to get an advantage, to open the gate. I'm like, no, right? It doesn't make any sense. No, it's strength, and that's all there is to it. Other things are, then there's other situations like that where it could go either way. It could go with athletic strength, athletics dexterity, or acrobatics or acrobatic strength, acrobatics dexterity. And I think that you just got to base it on the real world. Well, the rules say acrobatics is only dexterity based skill. Well, not necessarily. I like those gymnasts, right, who are using the rings.
Oh yeah.
That's all strength. Sure, they're dexterous too, but what do you do in that situation? I think you got to make a decision. What in the real world does it works? Well, how does it work in the real world? And you got to go on that.
And you always say if your player can explain it to you in a
Right.
way that makes sense,
Yes.
then you can go with what they want.
Right.
Even if to you you're like, well, it really should be strength, but they're giving you such a good explanation
Right.
as to why they want to use their dexterity. You're like, well, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. Exactly. And I think that's I think is the best way to go, because then what is their counter argument other than the rules say it doesn't work that way? I'll go to page number 1. It says these are guidelines, not rules. There you go. So you're done. Your argument is invalid. So I think as long as you're being fair,
yeah.
that is a key point too. If you're being unfair and punishing your players for being creative and say, no, that's not going to work, it's got to be what the book says, and then you're not going to have very many players at your table, or you're going to have very unhappy players, because the whole idea is they get to control one character in this whole world, and when you're telling them no, they can't do certain things because of some arbitrary decision you made. Now, of course, you're going to make dozens, hundreds of arbitrary decisions in running the game. Well, not arbitrary. I would like to say informed, and also the idea that you as a GM should be, have the character's
Best interest.
best interest, and the best interest is fun.
I think that's where it comes down to. Like, you make a lot of informed decisions as a GM, right? You
Right.
choose a lot
All
of
the
stuff.
time.
So if a character wants to use their acrobatics instead of their athletics, then
And they describe it well.
and they describe it well, or they really really want to do it. It just doesn't make sense to you, but they really really want to do it. Let them, because you make all the other decisions, right?
Well, I mean, it depends on. Yeah, you're right. I think if they really, really, really want to do it, and
They might fail. It's all, I mean, they just want to do it. They're trying, right? It
Right.
doesn't mean they're going to succeed at it.
I think the problem with letting them, if that happens too often,
Yeah.
then they're gonna come out with some harebrained idea like, I want to use my wisdom for a strength check. Okay.
Then you say, no, that doesn't work.
Well,
That's
but they might come up with something like, how about if I can use like a stick to and a rock to use like a lever, and use, what do you call that? I forget what it is called.
leverage.
I guess it is leverage. To open a gate or lift a bar. Okay. To come up with that idea, okay. But you still have to do the strength thing, but then the strength is mitigated by this leverage that you came up with. So I don't know. Like, I would be at a quandary right there for a little while, because I'm thinking, well, okay. Yeah, sure. Because it doesn't matter how strong you are,
Right.
right? Because with the right kind of leverage, you can lift anything,
Yeah.
theoretically. And I think that's the best way to go, is when, and I've said it before, GMs should be pulling for your players to do well. Not necessarily to win every fight, to kill every monster, but to do well in the game and have fun. Because that is why that is why I play role-playing games. Other people may have different ideas or different reasons why they play. They may just like telling a good story, even though any story is good, right? When you sit down with friends and have fun, let me tell you, if you have a fun time and people remember it, that's a story. No matter what's going on. I think it's interesting that I think I read on Reddit some GM was saying, I don't GM to tell a story. I go, who cares? That's just you end up with a story no matter what, unless your characters don't do absolute. Unless your characters absolutely don't, your players don't absolutely doing nothing. and just sit there and look at you. Okay, there's no story there. Actually, there is. It's about the boringest game they've ever played in because you just stared at each other for the last 4 hours. I mean, I'm being
Ridiculous. You're talking in hyperbole.
Hyperbole. I mean, hyperbolic. But I think that's why we play. We play because we want to have fun, and in having fun, like when we played Outgunned, did I tend to tell a good story? I wanted it to be entertained. I wanted to run a game that was movie like with a high action. And look, there was some crazy moments in that game.
It
right?
was it was,
and then you.
It was a lot of fun because
Right.
you knew what you were. From the first scene, you knew that the game was not serious. I mean, that there were serious things in it. You might get killed, but it didn't matter.
It was action.
It was an action thing.
Yes. And I think the things...
And it was called Outgunned, so that should have been a clue.
It might be a clue to the players. Yeah. And I think that's what was so fun about that game is that once players realized we're like... Because even in the beginning, like, well, no, I guess it was during the chase scene. Mike decided to jump the other car.
He jumped with the ambulance. Oh,
no,
it was a van.
It was a van. So then he goes, I want to jump the other car because it was crashing or something. And it was getting in front of him. So I go, okay. So he rolled.
That was a great scene.
He rolled his driving.
He made
thing,
it.
And he made it. It was pretty fun. I can imagine, like when we get together and him saying, "Man, remember when I jumped that car in the van?" I go, "Yeah, that was pretty fun." And even then, even right after, he was like, "Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was fantastic." So, again, I think as a GM, you're gonna have to make these decisions sometimes on the fly and sometimes really quick, and you're gonna make mistakes. And then if you make a mistake and you feel it's a mistake, own up to it. If the player's calling you, you know what, you're right, that was a bad decision. I should have done this or should have done that. I think if you are honest with your players, they will say, "Oh yeah, no, you know what, the rest of the game was good." It's fine if you make a mistake. I mean, we make mistakes all the time, but when you're making mistakes, when you're considering the player's fun quotient, I guess I would say, then who cares how well you adjudicate the situation.
And each game is going to be different, right? Because sometimes,
yeah.
like, the initiative rules are very specific. Sometimes certain things they must happen for stuff to go.
Right.
But even then, sometimes people will tweak it a little bit so that their table has more fun with it. But you should also take into consideration that some of those people might like the rules because it makes them feel like they're on an even footing with everybody else.
Yes.
So there you go. Have fun. Good luck. Initiative is a very interesting thing.
Yes, it is.
This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And you have a good day.